Hey, I'm Pops. Going to talk about Andor. Andor episode 8. Yes, we're on episode 8. And, this morning I was in the shower and I'd finished shampooing and washing and had some conditioner in my hair. And I thought to myself, we take for granted the little freedoms that we have, like how much shampoo I can take, how much water I can use, how long I can take. And for a brief moment in this episode, they actually made you think about some things. It was very brief. It was fleeting, I will admit. Um, the episode is one of the few bright spots thus far where we are shown tension, angst, struggle, loss. But there's also an episode that's riddled with, distractions and things that are just unimportant in the grand scheme of things. But episode 8, I've said before, is it's fulfilling what I've said before. The first 3 episodes is one. It's like 2 episodes, really. Like we had to walk around, talk about doing something. Then we finally did something. Episode 3, go to another planet, walk, talk, plan. Finally do a heist in episode 6, and then in episode 7 we slowed right back down again. And I said we would we would most likely increase, and then we'll have something happens in the next episode. We'll see if that formula is pretty much the structure. But I'll say with this episode, at least some things happened. It picks up after Andor. He's been arrested for something, just basically being in the wrong place at the wrong time. We had the K2SO droid knockoffs capturing him, and here he's in line basically after being sentenced. He's basically being transported. This is a sorting area where the shore troopers are moving him to whatever location, factory base, prison thing he's going to be shuttled off to. We cut to Karn, Inspector Karn. The Imperials show up at his little cubicle as he's there pushing all those little buttons and things like that. I will say I had mixed feelings with the shot of his station. Like at first I thought, ugh. And it does look like rather plastic on the edges with the lights and stuff. But then I thought it looks very 1979. Like it feels like it's in the 70s. So tying into the first movie and stuff, I actually can let this pass at least a little bit, but it does look very, very plastic and stuff. I have mixed feelings about this shot. Anyway, so then we cut to the shuttle, and they basically do these things where they make them kick off their shoes, and it straps them in automatically, kind of moves them along. And of course, we have shots of his shoes, like he still has his shoes, like it's part of our freedom metaphor, which isn't good at this point, but it gets better. And long story with this is because it's just so drawn out, is the fact that this guy's never gotten a fair shake. It feels like he was on to Cassian Andor. He had his thing. It all went sideways, ended up with death and murder and chaos. And he's been relegated as the failure and the scapegoat. This is Officer Mira. I don't know her title. I don't care. She's the witchy girl who keeps writing all of this to kind of move up the chain. Like she thinks it's going to matter at the end of the day. And she's trying to get information out of him on what he knows. And then we kind of move back and forth because all that just takes a couple minutes. We move back to Andor, coming to this, planet. Sorry, just a quick shot here. We'll play that. The quick shot of this planet where these little prison cubes are surrounded by water and that kind of thing. And then it's buffering. Sorry, folks. So you can see how remote it is. It's going to be kind of extremely impossible or next to impossible to get off of this planet. Then they cut to the Emperor board meeting room with this device, these machines, these things that are supposed to exist. And again, I will say here on the left, this little pad looking thing looks extremely cheap and cheesy. Hated that. And just, I get the whole, metaphor, a bunch of people, white uniforms, sterile, callous. This guy's in charge, is barely listening, those kinds of things. And it's more like the authoritarian lockdown, and the investigation is going to continue. And when we cut back to Andor, we sort of have this transition, this progression through the episode of what life is going to be like. And they round them all into this room. And basically, instead of, so there's some good dialogue about how can I stand here in front of you, weaponless, whatever. And they turn the floor on. And the floor basically like shocks and electrocutes them and drops them to their knees. And like that's level 1 because they have on their little fancy boots. And there you go. They drop to their knees, and that's how that works, right? We cut back to Karn, and Karn is explaining some details. He thinks it's going to get him somewhere. He actually kind of like jumps up and like, listen, you need someone like me. And she basically just brushes him off because she don't need no man. You feel like it's going to happen. You just don't know why it's taking so long to get there. Like he would be intrinsically useful for her to go to Ferrix and have an investigation, which, spoiler alert, happens later in this episode. Like it makes no sense that he would not be brought along. Anyway, so we get to the little prison situation, and we sort of like have this sort of like progression of him moving around, and his life is like he's been since 6 years, by the way, basically wrong time, and it's showing some elements of like the fallacy of a prison system and a sentencing structure, and then you meet Andy Serkis. His name I think is Kimo. And maybe he's the reason that this element of the story gets elevated because he's so good at this. He's such a superior actor. But this scene and the factory, so it's a prison, but it's a working factory, and they have stations, and each station has a number of men, and it's like a competition. And it comes out that the better they perform, instead of just getting gruel, like, tasteless food, they can get flavor. Or if they finish last, they get penalty. And it's almost like there's a comment like treating it like a game. And I thought to myself, this is so brilliant because one of the elements to the universe, this is them complaining, Kino. Yeah. This is them complaining. And they do the round table introduction, a bunch of faceless people. Like we're going to know who anyone is. I don't even know why we bother doing those scenes. Like it's just silly. Like, I don't know. I mean, I guess there's nerds at home. They're all writing it down or whatever. And I'm like, I have to start at something that's good in story first to make me invested to get that much further into it at this point. They have lost my trust, and I need to have them earn it to get a little bit of it back. I don't care about any of these people. He's the only person that I care about. Kino, who I kind of knows his name because it's come up a couple times, is the only other character that's remotely interesting enough to learn about. And it's really fascinating because they don't have to waste a lot of more time explaining what's going on. They kind of run through things kind of at a very high level, and they explain sort of the rules. I was reminded very much of like Squid Game. Like you didn't need to spend a whole bunch of time discussing it further. You were so invested in this struggle and this desire to survive and make your situation as good as it is. And it would be so easy to quickly turn this into a game for your own mental health and how to get through. So this element of the story and where Cassian is in this story is so good. I feel like it's so out of place. Now, I will say they cut back to Mon Mothma having meetings. This is her friend Tao, the husband, Perrin, and they're talking just the typical schlock they've been talking, how to move money around. The government's coming down on them. There's quick interactions with this daughter. I don't know. She just pops into a scene and leaves. I don't even know why we're bothering with her character. There needs to be some sort of relevancy to her, or this is going to be look like I just don't. It's so irritating if she has no purpose, because we're on episode 8. So this is like the 4th time she's like popped in a scene, maybe had a line and then leaves. So I don't know if she's someone's daughter or there is something that's going to happen. Anyway, they cut back and you get like, this is how they handle it. They just, he's sort of like the head chemo. Andy Serkis is like the head prisoner of his section. The black dude on the right is in charge of his section. And it's like, they're like less than a year now of their sentence being fulfilled. So they're basically like, the Empire has put in a situation with minimal security risk, prisoners guarding other prisoners, motivating other prisoners, and then manufacturing off of it. And I thought to myself, oh my gosh, I sure hope our politicians are not taking notes. Like, this is so, because the joke in America is, of course, they make license plates. And this is only 24 minutes. This is longer than a She-Hulk episode. And that's where we're at. And when we cut back to the party, we get some, let me think, is there any frivolous thing? It's supposed to be a little bit of information about their background, which we don't care about their drinks or anything like that. I was hoping that they would be a little more intricacies about what's happening. I will say it's a compare and contrast between their lifestyle and the prisoner's lifestyle. And there's a couple of quick comments, and I don't know if it's that scene or another flash cutaway, is, well, I don't care about this oppression and the suppression of rights because I'm not doing anything wrong. If I don't have anything to fear, what do I care? And I'm like, man. And I started with that thought in the shower, because so many times that's what we see with the government. The government is oppressing or pushing down on a right, and people go along with it because I don't have anything to be afraid. And reality is, yeah, but you're not thinking about other people. And in this case, Andor, who's in the wrong place, wrong time kind of thing. So, by the way, he's not even in his cell yet, right? This is how much information has been made about his life here and how things work. He gets the quick tutorial. This is food, toilet, blah, blah, blah. Boom, let's move on. And they just move on, and they just keep moving. Like, this is actually a lot of information is being conveyed about how things work. The floor turns red, so now it's lit up and it will electrify people. And they're bickering and bantering because they want to know about this Empire's bill thing that basically has come down on all of them, right? So a moment ago, you had the elites talking about they don't care what the Emperor is doing because it doesn't affect them. Well, these guys have been serving their time. They're manufacturing every single day. These prisoners are not serving their time. They're basically turned into slave labor, and their times have been extended or doubled or whatever. So we cut back again, and this may be the converse. Oh, this was more like you enjoy the view and just that kind of lifestyle. And we cut right back to the floor, and then 30 shifts later, which is great. Like, this is great because he's been. We don't need other conversation about it. That's all we needed, a time jump. Then they elaborate. Like, there's the shower scene. And then you have them manufacturing as a team and being effective, right? And then whenever there's a quick glitch, you see the dark side of Kino again. Like, you see him being complete in control. He's very self-interested. Then, so we got to about 30-minute mark, 32 minutes with credits to like 30. Then everything has to derail, in my opinion. Everything gets bad again. So now we're going to cut back to Ferrix, which is the first 3 episodes, right? This is where Cassian was looking for his sister in a brothel, and then of course got kind of in a bad scuffle, ended up killing 2 guys. We spent 2 episodes walking and talking. Then he finally gets off the planet when he meets Luthen. This big dude is his friend. And then we cut to Maeva, which is Andor's surrogate mom, and Bix, the girl, the love interest, Bix, right? And she's the one that communicates to Luthen and organized their connection, and she's still stuck here dealing with mom. And the mom's not doing well. She's in poor health, and we just talk and we talk and we talk and we talk. And then we cut to this scene, which is Cinta, which is from the next set of 3 episodes. So these were 2 of the survivors that were there for the heist. They're like a love interest, lesbian couple. And they're going to talk, and haven't we? It's like all very selfish, whereas this one's about the cause, and it's like, no, our relationship always comes second. And then it's like, it's just like a rich girl remark. I guess Vel comes from a wealthy family. And we slowed the pace down, and we're back to just like drama, drama, drama. And then we cut back to this dude, I forgot his name, and doesn't really matter in a minute. Pac, I think, is his name, because Bix says, I got to use the communicator. She goes to use the communicator to reach out to Luthen about Cassian. And then we cut to here. Her name is, I think, Keila. And she is like a diehard witch on wheels about, no, we're shutting it down. You're not thinking clearly. And she's basically bantering with him about all that. And long story short, it's like, I think a lot about Cassian. It's upset at me. I'm out of my game. And she's calling the shots. You see Vel leaving, Cinta behind, as the troopers are kind of closing in on the Ferrex, and you see Luthen going for a trip, basically. We cut in briefly, but everything now is about Ferrex because the Imperials are there. You have troopers walking around. You have they've arrested Pac because they were eavesdropping on the fact that there is a signal, and they go after Bix. Right? And then we cut to where Luthen was going. Well, then we finally get like class act acting. Like, no offense to Stellan Skarsgård. He's okay. He just plays Stellan Skarsgård, right? The same character in every single movie. Very rare does he do anything special. But Forrest Whitaker, man, Forrest Whitaker is a freaking boss. He brings it. He is so good. He's right back into Saw Gerrera mode. The makeup is there. The twitches, the nuances of his personality, the diehard anarchist. And there's all this back and forth about, you know, these rebels and their disagreements and all that kind of stuff. And this was this kind of stuff we should be having, and not having to deal with like the 5 minutes of the lesbian couple and 3 minutes for this and 3 minutes for that, and just all of it. And they're supposed to have this little quick comment about Pac, like, get him out of here. It's like, no, I need her to see him, because it's like intimidating, right? And this is Mira. She shows, we're in the room. Look, this is what they did. See? How am I supposed to take you serious, Star Wars? Here, sit in this office chair with these straps. I kid you not. What on earth? Oh my gosh. There is a Imperial probe questioning / torture robot in A New Hope. And in Andor, which I'm supposed to take serious after giving me some hope with a couple of good scenes, they introduce the office chair. Isn't there a Monty Python sketch about the Spanish Inquisition, and bring in the rack, and they bring in like a dishes drying rack, and they're just there because they don't have a real rack. And yeah, Andor went full Monty Python to derail all of their hard work, because we're reminded that this part's not too bad. This part was interesting, but then that's it. It's just it. Yeah, that was it. Office chair. Office chair. It's too early for this. Oh, the comments are coming. Hops, you're being unfair. You're not a real fan. This is such a good show. And I'm like, they try. And there are moments that this episode had, but we should be on episode 5, maybe. Let's see, 1, 2, 3. Could have been 2, 4, 5, and 6. Oh God, it was so tedious. I guess 2 really should be 1.5, but whatever. And then we have to pick up again. So this should be on like episode 4 or 5. But office chair, plastic consoles, like you shot on location. Like I feel really good about some of the scenes. Like some of the scenes are really, really good. Again, Ferrex and, but okay. Well, there you go. You're all caught up. You can tell me what you think, good, bad, and otherwise. I'll take it. Whatever happens, happens. And yeah. Anyway, so with that, I'm Pops. Try to have a good day today. Make today better than tomorrow. Here's some Bob Ross to make it, Joe. Bob Ross.
All I do is chill. My life is a thrill.